Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled Time-Space Continuum, where woo-woo meets the Bible. Of course, you can find my guest here at Gold 2020 Forecast on YouTube and also on his website at gold2020forecast.com. Let's give him a big warm welcome back to the show, Mr. Bo POLNY. Welcome back.
Hi, Jean-Claude. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to chatting with you and updating you and the world as to where we're at, because we're almost there.
We're almost there. And I have to tell you, all week, Bo, I've been doing 2 or 3 episodes a day here to catch up on this schedule here that, was put aside in the last couple of weeks with all the problems we were having. And everybody's telling me, oh my God, we're at this point now. The psychics are saying the same thing. The predictive guys are saying the same thing. We're so many things happening now and converging right on this moment. So without any delay, folks, thank you so much for joining us here on this live interactive show. We'll be taking your comments and questions as we go. And I've just now added in the description box below, folks, if you click on the description box below this video, you will see the link to Bo's presentation and you will be able to follow along with us. Now, let me give you that link here also in the live chat. Cut and paste, and there you go. And we are ready to start. Bo, man, you have a lot of new information in this deck compared to the last time you and I spoke. So let me give you some time here to set this up for the audience. Take the wheel, and I'll interject here and there when I see it's appropriate.
Sure. Yeah. It's, the wild part is that all of this is prophecy. This has been going back thousands of years, and we are living at a epical, important time point within our world right now. And as incredible as all of this sounds, the reason you're getting all this data right now from other sources is because we're converging on a time point that was written about thousands of years ago. And then that point in time was nailed in the coffin by Nixon 50 years ago. So we are coming to the Nixon moment, which is next weekend. August 15th through 16th, particularly the article is posted August 16th. So that would be the 50-year Nixon moment, the Jubilee moment. And that's why you're seeing all of these incredible prophecies come together. And also from a psychic perspective, you're seeing a lot of what the psychics are saying and seeing are merging, because all of this was prophesized. And we're now at the cusp of it going down. So that's why I wanted to, chat with you again, and just so I got some new revelation as well that I want to add into since we've last talked, to kind of give you and the viewers more of a view as to what's about to happen. But if you start on page 1,
okay, hold on. Just before I do that, let me give this clip to the audience. Guys, if you don't know what what Bo is talking about here, this is that famous night where Nixon took us off the gold standard. I'm just going to bring that link. We don't need to play it here, Bo, but just for the audience's reference here, they can go and watch that as well. Okay, which page do you want me to go on, Bo?
Just start at page 1. Look at page 1. The page 1 is a summary, because God is a God of time. As you know, he's God of time. So I'm an analyst of time. But God is God is also, he focuses on the seasons. So he's a God of time and seasons. So we're in 3 seasons now that are going to be epic and incredible for our world. It's going to start with summer, which we're in right now. So biblically, Isaiah 61:2 talks about the year of the Lord's favor, but the day of his vengeance. On the day of his vengeance, it's the vengeance on the evil ones. And when the day of vengeance occurs, that's actually the day of glory for the ones that love God, the ones that are with God. So you can look at it both ways. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So the vengeance is going to be on the ones that are doing what they've done. The glory appears when he brings his vengeance, because when he shows up, he is the glory. And the glory is going to just change the world as we know it. Now, I wanted to have people understand, what a prophet is. Now, I am not a prophet, but I analyze God's time and I listen to many prophets. I do get prophetic things when I sleep. I get patterns, I get charts, but I'm not a prophet. Prophets specifically are people that God has chosen to speak directly to and through. So as much as people want to sometimes, or many people on your channel listen to psychics, I'm not bashing that. Okay, I want to say that the difference is very clear in that if you had a choice of listening to the God the Father, the creator of all things, versus a psychic, okay, you don't sometimes, when you listen to psychics, I've listened to many and several, and the point is, when you know the truth, you can tell which psychics are giving you good information. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that the psychics you have give bad information. I'm saying that when you know the truth, you'll know who the ones are giving good information. That's really called discernment in the Bible.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's really critical to discern what you're hearing and what you're listening to know whether it's the truth or whether it's not the truth, because evil has a beautiful way of taking the truth and putting a slight little twist on it.
Mhm.
And at the very end is a little twist. So they sucker you in, and then they twist the very end to change the whole outcome. So that's what you really got to be careful of. So the prophet basically gets words directly through God. So God speaks through them and gives words to the world. So I'm going to, in this presentation, give some prophetic things that have been stated not by me, but by prophets. And it's incredible how all of this is coming to be, for the same simple reason that I listened to a past presentation you just did with Penny Kelly. Very nice lady. Okay, she got prophetic things. Many things she's saying is rather accurate, but it's already within the Bible that's been written for thousands of years. So we can talk about what she was maybe talking about and how it's going to come to be in the future. So all of these things are coming to a head, and it all starts with the glory appearing.
Okay,
So,
very good. And
so
I really
that's
want to
critical
echo
to
what you're
understand.
saying here about discernment, especially now more than ever, as we find ourselves in these final hours. There is the fog of woo, or the fog of war we talk about, and it is very, very thick. So I appreciate everything you're doing, Bo, in trying to bring all of these different pieces of the puzzle together for the audience here, because the more pieces we have, the better picture we can discern for ourselves. So thank you, Bo.
Yeah, and so like when I listen to I don't listen to all of your, I listen to a few of the people that you have on, and and the one that I just bring that one up as an example because she was talking of many truths. Okay, so that's a good example of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so the point being is, but prophetically, prophets can go back and their truths, because God knows and has written ready the future. The prophetic truths that are spoken by the prophets can last thousands of years, just like Daniel. His prophecy, which we'll talk about and we'll reference again, we've talked about before, that prophecy is like 4,000 years old, I believe, or sorry, 2,500 years old. It is the most profound and incredible prophecy ever written, and it's got a lifespan already of 2,500 years, which is unbelievable. And the only way that can happen is because God spoke through his prophet. And that happened because Daniel wanted no credit of it. See, the prophets don't want credit. So everything I'm doing today, I don't want credit. I am showing you what I've seen or what I know is coming. And so this whole presentation, it's free. I don't need to make a book. I'm giving you a look-see, as as Penny Kelly describes it, but giving a look into the future and including it with timelines for free. Why? Because I want you to understand, and your viewers understand that because the word of God doesn't go void. And more importantly, what God has laid out is coming to be, and we're living in those time frames right now. So, and that's why nothing's changed yet. Because the yet comes when his glory appears. No, his glory is going to be, it's something that I don't know what's coming, but his glory would be an example of his glory was when the Red Sea opened up. Okay, that was his glory. That was something beyond anybody could comprehend, but it happened. When Noah's Ark, when the earth broke open, water shot up, and they had the great flood, that was his glory appearing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're about to see a moment like that where his glory appears. Now, prophetically, just a reference, Amanda Grace just this past weekend stated clearly that as this next feast season arrives, expect an earthquake. Will it happen? I don't know. But was it this feast season? But I would say yes. So we could potentially see a massive earthquake, because again, when the glory appears, it shakes the heck out of everything. What do you think happened when the Red Sea parted? That was a massive earthquake, that caused all those events to go down. So all of this is about to happen here right now. And that would be considered the day of vengeance. But for us, that'll be his glory appearing.
Right.
And that would then result in the fall of the United States. So the United States has to fall. Why does it have to? And then, so you've had people on your show using the word chaos appearing. Okay. Well, the fall of the United States will be considered chaos appearing. When exactly. Right. So when the United States falls, and why does the United States have to fall, Jean-Claude? Because the glory goes to God. And so when God appears, he knocks everybody down. I was knocked down. Thus, I do what I do now, because I do work, because my words are, when I speak or when I talk or everything I do, particularly, it's for the glory. I don't want the credit for it, but when the glory appears, chaos appears. For some, it's a relative term.
Right.
It's just like it's you have to think about, chaos for one person is glory for another, right? But the chaos is going to be the system that just goes insane.
And you know what you just said about yes, and you know what you just said about the relative term. Truth is not a relative term. Truth is hardcore, it's rocket solid, and it goes through time. Lindsay is saying here in the chat, if just channel was close to the facts or the truth, it would have been called by now. Well, let me tell you, I've been called 3 times already, if you don't know that already. So thank you, Lindsay, for your comment. But let's move on, Bo. All right, let's get into this amazing data and all of these new time points here that you've plotted out for us on your presentation.
So the page 1 starts with the glory, then it goes to fall time as they fall and fall, and it leads to winter. I will make them happy. The I is God. Okay, that is the 3 seasons that it's about are going down this year before year end. Okay, so let's talk about that. So page 2 talks. This is really powerful. This in the Bible, it talks about Leviticus 25. And it says, and you shall consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. Okay. Liberty will be a point of time when Israel left Pharaoh. That will be considered liberty. But remember, before Israel left Pharaoh, they kept listening to Pharaoh because that's just what they were used to. What's going on in our world right now? They keep listening to Pharaoh. Right. And then even when they got up against the Red Sea, they still said, Moses, why would you stick us here in this situation? Because Pharaoh's going to come destroy us now. So they keep looking towards Pharaoh. But in the end, his glory appeared. And within 24 hours, everything changed. And that's what we're approaching right now, is that moment in time where everything changes. But as everything changes, first everything falls. The reason everything falls is because God cannot wake up a sleeping church without knocking them to their knees first. So that's why, in the data, you've heard from other people. What are they saying? Truths revealed, the Great Awakening. Yeah. Right. How do you have a Great Awakening? First, you have to have the Great Fall. So that takes us to our next slide. Is what's coming is the greatest wealth transfer in human history, but that's coupled with the fall, the Great Fall, because it's both. You understand? You can't have the greatest wealth transfer in history without the greatest fall in history, because it's a transition point. And so biblically, this is a prophetic thing. It says that the biggest move of God's Spirit ever in the history of the world. That's what the Jubilee is, okay? It's one of God's biggest surprises to ever hit the elite, who have manipulated the price of everything for generations. The dollar will crash. Goliath will fall. Who took down Goliath, Jean-Claude?
David.
And then everything changed. David took down Goliath. And this directly relates to our presentation that we're going to talk about today on how David relates to this. And then God's people will begin to rise up. Now, in order to rise up in America and the world, you have to be where first? On your knees. Okay? So you have to rise up, first you got to be knocked down. So next comes the fall, then the great rise, taking us to page 4. And then this is what biblically is called the kingdom economy. So, people you've had on your show, and I know, one of the very highly intelligent people is Cliff, calling for $600 silver. Why do you have $600+ silver in the future? Because it's called the kingdom economy in the Bible. So give you a few references. Okay. So in Exodus 12, it says, when they left Egypt, they took the silver and all the gold and they plundered the Egyptians. That's the wealth transfer from Egypt to Israel. That's what's coming. Egypt is the evil ones, running the world now. And then Israel is the people who are holding God's money. That's the wealth transfer that's coming. Okay. And it's in Proverbs. It says the wealth of the wicked or the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. Proverbs. So we're about to see, that's coupled with the wealth transfer. Because when the great ones fall, God's people will rise. That's the great wealth transfer. So the great wealth transfer is coupled directly with the great fall. You can also look at Deuteronomy 8. It's, the power to make wealth. It talks specifically about that. There's nothing in the Bible that tells us we're supposed to be poor. But how do you control a population, a world population? Print money to infinity, and you basically control that. And then everybody else, through money, you control people through bonds, mortgages, credit.
That's slavery.
That's slavery. Yeah, that's really what it is. So that's what it is in a nutshell. And then in another one, Deuteronomy. We are to be the lender, we're supposed to be the lender, not the borrower. But they turned the tables on us.
Right.
Okay. So next will be page 5. So what is the year of Jubilee? This is specifically Leviticus 25. I summarize some of the key words. Okay. It's a year of rest. It's a Sabbath. It's a holy year. If God's going to do something, he's going to do it in his holy year, probably right before it begins, August. And then he's going to rest and watch the consequences of what went down. So we're at a point where it's just the bubble's about to pop because we're entering the holy year, the year of rest. And so what happens in the year of rest, in the year of Jubilee? The clans, families reunite. We get security. We get the land will yield its fruits. So what is the land? The land is the Constitution. So it's going to yield its fruits. And we're going to return to the Constitution. The blessings. Now this is important. The blessings will be sufficient for 3 years. That takes us to the end of 2024. That is why this presentation is very important, because it's as exciting as all these changes are going to be in the future. It's a window of grace, which then leads to many problems starting in 2025. So we're going to get a window, and it's a right to redeem of means, finances. So finances are released. So that is the basis of what a Jubilee is. I wanted to illustrate that to you and to your viewers so you understand, why a Jubilee is so important. And the most powerful thing about the Jubilee is it's supposed to be honored by people, by man. But if you don't honor it, God forces the hand. So that's why the day of vengeance. So that's really what brings us to page 6, and that's going to cause the rise of the kingdom economy.
Do you want to take a quick break and talk
Sure.
about the Jubilee? How do you see that transpiring in physicality, in reality? Does that mean that people's credit card balances are wiped to zero? Does that mean that their mortgages are wiped to zero? Does that also mean, by the same token, that maybe their pension funds are wiped to zero? How do you see that Jubilee happen?
You know, that is something that's like speculation. And I honestly, it's just, that'll be complete guesses on my part. But, you know, but just think about the, you know, the mortgage system, right? You know, they have 30-year mortgages. The Bible talks about, I think you're not supposed to have more mortgage or a lender more than 7 years, right? So if the system currently are 30-year mortgages, those are against the Bible, which means that expect that to come to an end.
Okay.
Right, because the maximum you can be the lender would be for 7 years, because it's a Bible thing where you at 7 years it's a rest period, so it's
Right.
6 is right. So you can't lend for 30 years. So expect those kind of things to come to an end. How it affects the world, well, I would suspect, you know, huge changes, because that directly, you know, what's the biggest market in the world is a bond market, right? So, and the current system, as you know, it can't exist in this new kingdom economy.
Right.
So that's what I can tell you. All I can tell you is the best transition vehicles are what's sticking, you know, which I put on page 6 right there.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll transition any person or families into the kingdom economy when it rises. So it's not so much worrying about what happens to, it's just have you prepared. It would be a better way of looking at it, because I don't know what happens to, you know, neither do you, particularly. We can guess all we want, but we can just prepare for it.
Yeah, there's a difference between just being passive and hoping everybody else is going to fix their problems, and you taking actions for yourself. And of course, if you're getting into Bitcoin, gold, and silver here, as we're talking about, that's you taking charge of your own personal wealth. And this is why perhaps it is your entry card here into the kingdom economy, as you say.
Right. You know, what would be the best if the debts aren't forgiven, or they somehow, however it goes down, right? But imagine you had a good stash of any one of those things there, right? How easy will it be to pay off any of the debts that you have? You see what I'm saying? Right. So why do you care? Because you prepared.
Exactly.
Versus hoping that X, Y, or Z will happen for you.
Exactly.
You know, and may not go down that way. No one knows. We don't know.
Right.
So if you want to continue, we go to page 7. And so, you know, sound the trumpet. Here's something that I found very interesting. When I did my initial work, you know, that we've talked in the past as well, too, we've talked about, you know, the year of Jubilee. So 7 times 7 is 49. And then we enter into the 50th year. I was thinking initially, this was a mistake on my part, that as we head into the 50th year. But when I reread Leviticus, it's actually the 50th year, not into, it's in the year 50. Okay. So we are at that moment in time by the time point of September 6th. And so it says sound the trumpet on the 10th day of the 7th month. So that would be there, you know, there's 2 schools of thoughts. I include a link down there. Some people say it's September 16th, 2021. I don't agree with that, because that would be more than the Masons making that one up. The 10th day of the 7th specifically would be April 11th, 2022. And so by that time, you're sounding the trumpet because you are rejoicing.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, and everything's changed by that time. And you'll see why that time point actually lines up very nicely with what's coming here into the future. So if we scroll over to page 8, now this is the nail, this was the nail in the coffin for the elite. Right here. This is what we just talked about in the initial presentation. Okay. It was in August 16th was the articles printed. 50 years ago makes it this coming, I think, Saturday or Sunday next weekend. So that'll be the Nixon moment, the 50-year Jubilee. So don't be surprised that things could start as early as that exact moment in time, or right around there. My cycles indicate, we're going to talk about Bitcoin in a few minutes, but my cycles indicate things are going to start next week, potentially. So so you'll see why, because I'm actually, what I did was, as a little freebie, I gave you and your viewers the actual daily Bitcoin cycle.
Oh, that's going to be
the next few days. So, and it's wild, because it's nailed every single day so far. It's crazy. So we'll show that. We'll look at it in a few minutes. We look at a page, and this is really one of the key pages I want to reference here is page 9. This is the most recent information in terms of prophetic information that, that I can offer that I got just a week or two ago. Okay.
Okay.
So it starts with May 26th. And that was the center of time. Now, just quickly, if you could scroll so we understand why May 26th, 2021, this past May, is so important, because that directly relates to page 18. So just hit page 18, and then we'll go back to page the one I've just done.
Okay.
So this is the center of time, May 26, 2021. Why it's the center of time? We'll just look at the eclipses. That is by design of God. It's you got 694 days forwards and backwards, 1904 days forwards and backwards for the eclipses, 2259 days forwards and backwards. That is mathematical perfection in the celestial bodies. Who the heck? That is, all I can say is wow. And anybody who looks at that, all they can say is wow.
Right.
So that's the center of time for end times. So if you're going to scroll back on one, that's why that time point is so important. So we're going to look at now this. What I got was a protractor, ultimately and leading into a circle. So a protractor has 180 degrees. So when you start on one side of the protractor, it ends on the other side, when the other side is exactly opposite, right? It's exactly opposite, key word, of where it started at. So if May 26th was a starting point, 0, we work our way up to the July 4th. July 4th is where the prophets actually, there's like Hank Kuhneman, Mario, there's like 5 prophets on stage, all basically pronounce that the year that we're new music and a new sound, a new era is upon us. So that was a proclamation that was done at 40 days. That would equate, that also equates to 400 days from when oil went to 0. That also equates to a half, exactly to the exact day, a half Daniel cycle going all the way back to the precise day Trump got elected. So this is not even random. This is precise planning by God. So from the day Trump got elected, a half a Daniel cycle takes us oil going to 0. You add 40 days to that, you precisely land on May 26th. You add another 40 days, you got July 4th. So if you scroll up a little higher, you'll see that where that little light blue arrow, that's today, August 5. So I put that in there precisely because we are just how many days, And so the angle, each angle represents one day. So that's what I got. So a 90 degrees would be 90 days. 180 degrees would be 180 days. So we are maybe like 6, 7, 8 days from the Nixon moment. That's the first big fat arrow, green arrow.
Right.
Then we get to August 24th, the tipping point. That's that 90. At 91 days, August 25th, that's the tipping point. So anywhere starting as early as the Nixon moment into the tipping point, and as far as no further than that third arrow, which is the new year. So God's new year starts on Rosh Hashanah.
September 6th.
September 6th. Okay. And Elul 29 is the day before Rosh Hashanah. Elul 29, and those who have listened to Jonathan Cahn and many of his prophecies, he specifically talked about Elul 29. Actually, in this presentation, I will explain to you why, because he made a huge thing about Elul 29. He talked about it, how every 7 years, incredible things go down. And he actually made a book called a Shemitah. Remember all that? And then 2015 happened and nothing. I'll explain to you why, because it directly relates to the year of rest. So nothing was supposed to happen on 2015, but that was a mistake on all our parts. I even got that wrong. So it's a matter of our interpretation and not interpreting the prophecy correctly. So, but the point being is, and then Amanda Grace says, as we approach into the next feast date, the next feast date is September 6th. Earthquake. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard through the prophets. So the point being is, anywhere as early as the first green arrow into the tipping point into September 6th, expect all of this to come to a head, where something has to blow.
Can I ask you a question there? You said earthquake. A lot of people on our show are worried about these earth changes, and they've been tracking. And I won't say the letter or the name here. Some persons or group of persons talking about watch the water. So this has been a theme here for a while, and they were wondering if maybe the Three Gorges Dam could go down. Maybe some in the United States. You talked about earthquakes here. Do you know how that ties into anything here, specifically maybe with China and the Three Gorges Dam? Where would you put that? If anywhere right now, based on some of these prophecies, how does that tie in here into this timeline? Would the Three Gorges Dam go down?
Any earthquakes that occur now are nothing but warning signs. It's like when you go, the shot across the bow.
Right.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Okay, so everything that's happening now, we're going to be shots across the bow to knock people to their knees, to wake them up, because Christ the King cannot return, because we are so far from being, people, righteous people. We have a lot of learning to do.
Right.
So the point being is, any earthquakes that happen right now, with even the regard to the Gorges Dam, those are shots across the bow as a wake-up call. People will die. Yes, I'm sure if that happens, many people will die. But all of these are just wake-up calls for what's coming in the Bible later. And this is Penny Kelly talked about this, actually, where she see, you guys are talking about Planet X, whatever it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Things that was mentioned. See, all of those things are coming. But when that stuff happens, you're not going to see the Three Gorges Dam go down. You're going to see California fall in the ocean. Okay. You're going to see crazy, you're going to see islands disappear. Am I crazy? No. Go to Perry Stone. He had a prophet on yesterday that stated, Christ was holding her hand. They're under the water. This is prophetically, she was seeing this, and California was underwater. Mm-hmm. This was posted yesterday on Perry Stone. I'm not making any of this up. This was prophetic, and this stated yesterday on Perry Stone on his YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, and God does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets.
Wow. I'll bring up this link again here for the audience. This was the interview with Jason Epfor and Penny Kelly, and we talked about these waters. And this, of course, was an extrapolation by Forbes magazine, but something similar to that is what Penny Kelly was seeing out in the future. But by the time we get there, we have a lot of massive changes before that, including open relationships with extraterrestrials. So I'll just say it that way. Go watch the episode, guys, and check that out. I'll bring the link.
Well, and then on the presentation, just a couple with that slide you have right there. Okay, go to page 61 and 62 on my presentation. This is or what they're talking about has been written in the Bible for 2,000 years already. Mm-hmm. You got a third of the water turns to blood, locusts. We've got just look at some of the key points here. You've got drinking water turns to blood, sea turns to blood. You've got Euphrates rivers dries up. World number 7 would be world earthquakes, cities, islands, mountains disappear. 100-pound earthquake, 100-pound hailstorms. That's right there in the bulls, number 7. Right. So you want to know why that happens? Because it's already been written in Revelation. Mm-hmm. The bowls of Revelation. It's none of this is new. They're just seeing pieces of a puzzle, as I've stated on your show before. They're seeing pieces of a puzzle that's been written over 2,000 years ago, depending on which prophet you're looking at, or if you're looking at Daniel, which was written 2,500 years ago. Right. So we just happen to be living in this time. Now, the goal of living in this time is to wake up and then prepare. Right. So we have a window of 3.5 years. So that takes us back to the slide that we're just talking about, the protractor. If I can just scroll back to there with you. So the protractor takes us to August being a very critical time point into August 6th. And then we go to September 23rd, October 13th, again, just, key time points, 120 days, 140 days. And then ultimately the most important time point here is 180 degrees or days, November 22nd. 3 days later is Thanksgiving. Point being is that by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, the world is supposed to be 180 degrees different in terms of its mindset of who's controlling now versus who's controlling then. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in that 2 or 3 videos ago I did with Penny Kelly, it was called ETs and Human Trafficking. We were talking about the white wall, and something was preventing her from seeing into the future here. We had been discussing that for months, and just in that last month, she was able to see across the white wall. And basically what she's described is exactly this, a complete reversal of everything we know right now.
Yes. And what does she say? And I want to couple with what you said, because I got to give her credit. She said 3 to 4 months. Okay. So do the math on what I'm saying. And with the white wall being the green arrows at the top there.
Yep.
Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay. So the white wall, you couldn't, because see what God does, he's very precise in his timing, and he's very precise in his events. In other words, he has a plan of how this goes down, how his glory appears. I don't know. Nobody knows. It was hidden for a long time behind a white wall. Now we're seeing little pieces, but we still don't know. The reason nobody knows how the glory will appear and how these events will go down is because it's a secret, hidden and maintained only by God, so that the evil ones, can't counter.
Mm-hmm.
There's no chess move to counter it. Because that's the wild card. And that's why many psychics you talk to say how things are in flux sometimes.
Yeah. Because
God holds a wild card, and he maneuvers it sometimes for his purposes. So and the really wild part is, people, psychics, they consistently like to use the word evil, the evil ones, the bad ones, but what I find fascinating is none of them call out, like, if you believe in that there is, evil on this earth, or, evil ones, they don't call out God the Father as a creator. You see what I'm saying? They just say creator.
You have one without the other.
Yeah, that's my point, right? So you can't have, if you believe in evil, then you have to believe in God, period. It's just because you can't, that's exactly the point. You cannot have evil if you don't have God. And that's the whole point. And that's why, and God is going to do everything to protect his people, because he created mankind. He loves his creation. Evil hates it because it has the DNA of God. So he was thrown out of heaven. So now he basically and he knows he's done. So he's just doing anything to grab as many souls with him into the lake of fire. So it's wild, but then that takes, so back on that slide there. So after Thanksgiving, we are at the new era, because that which was now becomes the system that is now becomes a new system after 180 days. Mm-hmm. And then who's the builder? Who's the rebuilder that we have on this world right now? Who's the builder? Who builds buildings? Who knows how to fix things? Who's one of the highest intelligent persons who knows how to run a business?
For the sake of this show, because it's on YouTube, we'll just say Mr. T.
And I'll say the word David. Okay. Okay. So if you scroll back to that, so the builder comes back to rebuild. So it's basically like you're saying, like Penny was saying too, to couple with what her words were. It's going back to the beginning to restart, and then go back to 180 degrees, taking us all the way to May of next year. And so the point is, it's a 360-degree circle. And so the front page that I had was, you will be happy in December. I will make them happy.
Yeah.
Why will you be happy?
He just said that in a speech. I think it was the Florida Women's Rally for the Conservatives or something. I'll make you happy or something like that. So that's
really?
Yeah. And of course, Mary Bo here says 45. Yeah. So we're talking about 45. We'll leave it
exactly.
at that.
And so
hey, let me just before you move forward here too, you said something that's very important, and I don't want to jump over it. You said that basically the one who's fallen from heaven here knows he's lost, and he's trying to get as many souls as possible. And this is why I do these shows. This is why Bo does these shows. We're trying to fight this information war to keep those souls on our side, so that they don't fall back into the trap and follow that fallen one. So I think that's clear enough for you guys. But Bo, do you want to interject on that as well?
No, I couldn't say it better. That's exactly it. It's he's done. So he knows he's never going to, he's not allowed back into heaven. He's trying to make earth, and with Adam and Eve, they let him onto the earth. So now he has dominion on the earth. That's why he offered it to Christ. Christ said, "Get behind me. showing him who's in charge. Okay, but he has dominion on this earth, and therefore look what's going on. That's the essence of it, and he knows he's going to be ultimately thrown in the lake of fire. So if you know you're toast, you just take as many people with you as possible.
Yeah,
and so many, but Christ and God want to save. They created humanity. They love. That's the key of this presentation. Okay, actually, this is speaking of love and the word fear not. Okay, God loves his creation. Period. He loves us. The other side, you turn on the news and it's all fear, 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 fear. So how do you control people through fear? Now this is the best part. I did this research the other day. You can Google it. How many times in the Bible? This is not a coincidence because there's no coincidence in the Bible. How many times does it say in the Bible, fear not? 365 times.
Wow.
Some say 366 to account for the extra year sometimes.
The leap year, yeah.
For the leap year. But the point is, every single day, fear not. That is incredible. I don't know what to tell you except wow. So what is there to fear but fear itself through fear mongering, through turning on the TV and through tell a vision.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I've been repeating that for quite some time here on the show. Fear not. Like, don't be afraid. Step out of that fear frequency, get into that empowerment frequency instead and that love vibration. Now, let's just go back up. Parisa has a good
And also, just to pause you for just a minute, that love vibration, you're correct about that. But please listen to this. That the spirituality thing that's preached on this earth, let's all be spiritual. Let's all love one another. Yes, the love thing is a part of God and his where he comes from. But the spirituality is where we're all our own gods and we're our own spiritual beings. That is from the pits of hell. That is like when I tell you that, they feed you information to make it sound all great. At the very end, this little twist. Well, that's one of the greatest twists ever because they're going to suck. Those people that believe that are going to be the ones that get sucked in. Because ultimately, the spirituality thing is from the pits. It's not of God. So it's important to understand that, and that's not talking about love, so it is in the end, it's a matter of trying to wake people up so they don't get steered in the wrong direction, as we've talked about, and God wants to save everybody.
So on that particular point, I have to say, the way you phrased it, I disagree with you, but this is not the point of this show. And I'd be happy to have you back on and get there because I think you and I come together in many points and we agree with, and maybe it's just the way you phrased that. I didn't understand it.
Well, but at any rate, let me rephrase that because I know many people believe that God is within us and we're our own gods. In other words, if we're our own gods and heaven's within us, then there's no heaven. See, that's where I'm coming from. And I know that is preached out there a lot, where people actually say that, God is within us, which, yes, we're creatures of God. We're at the right hand of God, well, right next to Jesus, and Jesus is next to God. But the point being is that heaven's not in us.
But even in the Bible, they'll say you are the temple of God. God is in you, and you don't need another person like the Pope to speak to God.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, because Pope is a man. You're correct. So we're on the same page with that because Pope ultimately leads everybody. Those that don't wake up, the Pope's going to lead 1 billion people to hell.
Okay. I'd be happy to do a whole show just on that, Bo, but let's get back to our meat and potatoes for the audience here. So let's go back. The question on the screen was, how soon can we expect 45 to return? Based on your timeline here, is there anything you could suggest to the audience? Because we're now getting a predictive linguistic data as well coming up here that is showcasing that perhaps the language here is sooner than later. At the same time, in physicality, we're seeing these A words in different states show up, and these excess numbers showing up everywhere. That is showing us that something really, really wrong happened last year, and there's a correction that is about to happen. That's the best I can say it here for YouTube. So let's talk about timing here, given the chart that you have on the screen. How would you answer, Parisa?
Well, actually, I would best answer that with a prophetic word, not of me, but of Kim Clement. So if you want to just scroll over to page, because remember, first his glory must appear. That's coming very soon. When his glory appears, then all of this starts to go down. So then we start going on the other side at 90 degrees, and we start peeling over the 3 months, getting into November. lining up precisely with what Penny Kelly was giving you as a timeline.
Mhm.
Okay, so then go over to page 11, and if you can click that, let's listen to it, and that'll answer that question.
Okay, so let me scroll this one back. Let me adjust the volume right away, and just give me a thumbs up to make sure you
Please
hear
listen carefully to the words.
Okay.
I am summer. I bring smiles. I bring sunshine. I bring warmth. Yet there is a tumultuous rendering that is coming. I stand to protect spring, but fall, you are rebelling. Then there is the earth that wishes to tremble. Shake! For the nations of the earth stand waiting. However, there is an uncovering of great evil. And I will start from the top. I have shaken the Democrats and will shake the Republicans even more. But remember, when these tremors and when these tumultuous moments happen, Summer says, I will take it so that the fall can do its work in America. For thus says the Lord, I will prosper my people. And during the fall there shall be many that shall fall, and many that shall rise from the dust. Strange July, hypnotic November, and oh Christmas, when winter shall say, and me, I will make them happy. For God says, I have chosen each season to manifest something. My will shall be done, and it shall come to pass that I shall bring sign after sign, and in the fall, that which comes down is that which was able to be shaken. And I will build and release the resources, and in the fall will show you whom I have chosen to pray for and guide this nation. You shall rejoice, for it is my man. It is my chosen David, says the Lord.
Okay. Let me just adjust the volume back. Bo, are you still there? Can I hear you?
Yeah.
Okay.
God's word will not go void. That was the word of God through his prophets. So to answer your question, in fall, David returns.
Okay.
Fall starts September 22nd and ends December 20th.
Okay.
Right in that window of time, precisely in the window of time that we talked about and showed it in the protractor.
It would make sense too, because if we are going to get that Nixon moment, let's say August 16, that creates huge havoc, huge awakening, and that awakening needs to happen before David's return, because otherwise nobody would believe it. They would still be lulled in their sleep. So something big, as you say, or the fall needs to happen here. Okay, I understand.
You know, and when it falls, it's the fall of Goliath, because when David takes down Goliath, the dollar, when the dollar falls, their means of controlling the world becomes weakened.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
And so then Trump returns. Let me just repeat that. Then 45 returns to rebuild. And in order to when he rebuilds, he's going to rebuild a monetary system based on what we talked about on the reference to kingdom economy, which is a monetary system of gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
And pretend also Bitcoin will be tied, and cryptos will be tied in directly with the kingdom economy. So hopefully that precisely answers that question. But it's fascinating how the protractor and the timeline lines up with the Kim Clement prophecy, which was crazy. foretold on 45's birthday 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just wild.
Some of this stuff you just can't make up. I mean, you have to be honest and say, things that make you go, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let me bring up this graphic.
So go to
here.
12. Go to 12.
Oh, 12. Okay, sorry.
12 is a summary of the timelines, but basically we're getting into those are all, some of the seals and the timelines and how it all lays out. I basically put it all on one page to make it easy for you. I showed you last time. I updated and I stuck in the green zone, which is the year of Jubilee. So you'll see that green zone right in the middle there. Yeah. So we got August 16th, the Nixon moment, and that starts the Jubilee. Or does this Jubilee start the real year Jubilee, which would be the prophetic biblical year on Rosh Hashanah, which would be on Rosh Hashanah, which would be September 6th, or anywhere right in that window. And then that takes us a year forward all the way to September 24th of next year, which brings the conclusion of the year of Jubilee, the conclusion of the rest. And then that leads into what I talked about. The Jubilee still allows for 3 years. So we've got 3 to 3.5 years to prepare for 2025.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Fascinating times.
And then the 13 basically is in a simplest form, the Daniel prophecy. I've shown you this before, 2,500 years ago. There isn't anybody out there who, and remember, the wildest part about this, he took no glory for it. He gave the glory of this prophecy to God. He goes, it was given to me by God. It's written right in there. So God gave him this. Everything here has happened so far. We're about going into the seventh one, because right now they're trying to bind the iron and the clay. So the iron is the control empire that still takes us all the way back to Rome, and the clay is God's people, because we were formed of clay. So they're trying to bind it. That's what we're seeing right now, the binding.
Yeah.
Which is the legs and the ankles and the feet. And then the next slide is the fall, where God brings his glory and he knocks down the statue. He knocks down Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, what many people are describing as, the new era in time, the new kingdom, age of Aquarius, like they're talking, the next age. But all of this, again, was prophesized 2,500 years ago, precisely. This is not like he got a couple things right. No, he got it all right.
There is a lot there. Somebody was saying in the chat, charisma, I think. Yeah, it's important to listen to all. And I agree. This is why Bo's on the show. This is why I bring many different people with different points of view. We're trying to get the bigger picture. At every single point of time, we're trying to get the bigger picture. And the moment you say, I don't resonate with that, you're not listening, well, you're missing a piece of the puzzle. It may or may not fit, but at least you should have it in your repertoire, because maybe one day it will fit somewhere in your puzzle. So this is why we're having these shows. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and this is, I appreciate you having me here, because there's nothing that, that psychics, that I don't, whether I resonate with all the psychics or not, that's a personal discernment of my own, right?
Right.
But then when you take my presentation, what was shown here, what I'm giving for free, couple it with some of people that have been on your show, tell me it doesn't resonate nearly precisely, with some of the very key people, including what even Cliff has been talking about, right? My point is just, and all of this goes back to prophetic times of thousands of years ago. So it's just a matter of putting the pieces together. And that's really why I like talking to you, because you are very well rehearsed in good information, Jean-Claude. You do your homework.
I think you appreciate that.
You really do. And so when I speak with you, you can take pieces and you like to put things together. And that's what I've noticed about you. And you're very great in what you do.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Bo. Thank you. JB 2020 says JC's link to the tip jar is broken. Let me just make sure that's not correct here. It could be something to do with your browser. Let me put that back in the screen and click on it myself here. This is what should show up. Whoop. I'll do that again here. Hold on, folks. It works, guys. So maybe it's just your browser, JB, but thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for using the tip jar here. It enables me to keep doing these shows for free.
Yes, please, everybody. This man works his tail off, okay? So please, I've done that for Jean-Claude. I love him. I think everybody else, to jump in there, it's a matter of just showing your gratitude for what people do. And Jean-Claude works hard. So He really does, Jean-Claude. You are a good man.
Thank you, Bo. I appreciate that. All right. I'm sure a lot of people, let's go back to your presentation here.
Yeah,
They're
so
like,
I think
okay,
we should let's fast forward, Jean-Claude. Go all the way to page 20.
20? Okay.
Some of these are older slides or things we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about in
yeah.
the past. So
Okay.
shoot over to page 20. And this is the Shemitah cycle. So it's really interesting, but the world was wound up for, oh my gosh, the seventh, Shemitah is about to happen. And Jonathan Cahn put together the Mystery Shemitah, this book and everything else. And it was a dud, right? But you have to go back and listen and read what it actually said. And I got this wrong too. So this is not taking shots at him. This is saying, it's the word of God can be misunderstood sometimes, right? And so,
Right.
but it shall be so it says the seventh year is a Sabbath year, a year of rest. That shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. My point being, if it's a year of rest, guess why 2015, no stock market event, no wow moment, because it wasn't supposed to happen. So then that takes us to the next Shemitah cycle next year, September. So there's a huge possibility something goes down next year. Not this year. So I don't see a huge crash in the stock market this year. Okay. So I want to take that over to the next page 21.
And on that note too, what we're getting from a lot of other people's too is, there's going to be some dips, but a quick recovery. We're not going to see that huge, like 90% retracement or 75% retracement of the Dow Jones, like some people were talking about. So, but maybe 2022 is what you're saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, my least of my concerns is the stock market. But people like to know, there's some people want to ask about it, so I can at least show you what I see. But trust me, my focus is not on the stock market, not even close. Okay. Yeah. However, there are patterns that I've been able to mark, and it's been interesting. But if you go to page 21, I did an interview with Greg Hunter on June 4th. It's marked. Okay, I did it. I said the Dow is going to crash starting Monday. It fell for 10 days straight. Yep. That was nailed, okay? However, the other markets, it held up. The point being is that leads us into page 22, and that shows you why I knew that would happen, because it's the 4-2-1 cycle. This is a biblical cycle God showed me, and how it's a circle, and the cycle keeps repeating itself. So you'll notice that the one cycle was June of this past year, and it was a red zone. We were supposed to get a crash, but we didn't get a plunge. We just got a drop on the Dow. But now we're out of the one zone, we're out of the red. So now basically we're starting all over again. And so the next red zone on the 4-1 cycle is not, but interestingly enough, it's not until September of next year. So it lines up perfectly with the Shemitah cycle of page 20 I just showed you.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating how the 4-1 cycle correlates perfectly with the Shemitah cycle of Jonathan Cahn. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I do know that the cryptos don't have a great year next year. So let's talk about, the cryptos as well too. We can scroll over to page 23 would be the dollar cycle. So this is the determining factor for the rise of cryptocurrencies themselves. It's the dollar. So if you can kind of somehow get both pages together, even the next page 23 and 24, and you'll kind of see what happened there as you can go back and forth like that. There it is. So you'll see in the top left corner on page 23 how the dollar topped and started to drop. Well, look what happened to Bitcoin. It started to rise. Then when the dollar finally broke out in about March, it ran vertical. Bitcoin got stuck and it went sideways. And now we're about to see plunge or the fall of Goliath. Goliath is page 23, the dollar. When Goliath falls, what do you think Bitcoin's going to do?
And the opposite. Right.
I'm showing you on page 23, 24 right now. So now that takes me to page, this is what I wanted. This is a little freebie for your viewers, page 25, the daily cycle on Bitcoin. I blocked out, what's coming, for majority of next September and October and stuff. That's all blocked. It's private. Okay. But the point being is that start on the left side of the page, the top pattern is history. That which has, this is in the Bible, that which has been will be again. There is nothing new under the sun. Look at the top left chart. Look at the bottom, current day Bitcoin. Follow it from A, B, C, 1, and then points 1, 2. Today we're at point 2. Upcycle begins next week, and I have a possible very strong move beginning next week on or about 9th into the 10th. So there's a little freebie for your viewers.
There you go.
And then tell me what have you heard anything about what are you hearing on your side for potential event? And then, so the cycles precede events. With me?
Yeah.
So tell me about events that you're hearing about or people that you're hearing about.
Well, so just tying it into the dollar here, if in fact there's a huge shakeup in the political realm, let's just call it that, in the USA, that will shake confidence in the world reserve currency. So of course that would be an event that would bring the dollar to the downside. In the same token, that would also be an event if people lose confidence in their currency to go look elsewhere to put their money. Of course, Bitcoin is one of those alternatives. Gold and silver is the other one. So that all ties in terms of the predictive linguistics and some of the psychics too. They're all on track with the old reports that said that we would be we would have these $100,000 Bitcoin parties before year's end. So that was at the same year that Bitcoin had hit the 64,000 in those, I think it was 2017 reports. So we're still there now. And yeah, even the mainstream analysts now are talking maybe 200,000 by the end of the year, including Max Kaiser. I think he's at 225 right now. So it all seems to be tying in with this as well, Bo.
So I wanted to show your viewers, how history replays itself. If people want to know the specific patterns going forward, because there are going to be spikes and they're going to hammer it down. We have the patterns going into September and October, so we have that. But the point being is, I wanted to show you what my subscribers are getting, because this is where we're at. It's really exciting.
Absolutely.
How it's lining up with what you're even getting with some from the predictive linguistics thing that you're hearing too. Right. So the patterns are there because life replays itself. That which has been will be again. The pattern that I'm illustrating here is beyond incredible for pattern replication. So, and then you can shoot over to next page would be 26, and there is your 40-year. Silver's been manipulated. Silver's been manipulated forever. It's never going to go up. Number one is, yes, silver's been manipulated forever, but the manipulation created, after 40 years, a perfect cup and handle chart pattern. So as much as manipulation is the pattern, manipulation is the cycle.
Right.
And so now we're nothing but just sitting at the cusp of breakout. And so when glory shows up, breakout occurs. The fall and the rise occur at the same time. And that's a relative term of who falls and who rises.
So Penny, on this note, still sees the spike towards maybe $800 in silver, some here between here and the fall time, maybe a retracement back down to 500, and then next year she's seeing $1,800 to $2,200 silver per ounce.
Yeah, see, I gotta compliment her if that's the case. I have no idea. I'm showing you patterns. I have cycles. Cycles don't give me price, but I have timelines. So cycles give me timelines. So that's more important sometimes. But when you talk numbers like that, then that makes the timelines even really exciting on top of that too. But, so why would something like that happen? Well, in the Bible, there's two things in the Bible. One is damages. The other is blessings. So damages are to be paid immediately, and that's sevenfold. So take the price of silver multiplied by 7. That'll be immediate damages. That's just under between $150 to $200 for damages for silver. So I don't know how quick that would happen, but those are damages. The Bible then talks about blessings, which are 30, 60, or 100-fold, depending on where you fall in that category. Okay. So how do you get crazy numbers like you just heard? Like you mentioned, well, multiply the price of silver by 30, by 60 or by 100, right? But how do those numbers happen? Because blessings, because the glory appears.
Yeah.
They will manipulate and do this game for all eternity because they want to perpetuate the financial system that they currently exist in. When the glory shows up, they have no choice.
Exactly.
And you
And
have
this is also what they're seeing is an end to this manipulation, that it's on its very, very last thread. We're seeing the tarot card moment come up all the time as we look for these manipulators. So that is also new of this year. Every time we're picking up those cards.
right. And so give credit to the people that are pulling those. Okay.
Yeah.
My point, I don't know how that works. Okay. But my point is they're seeing what I'm showing you. They're seeing prophetic things that have been stated by the prophets. What did the prophets say about that? Go to page 27. Gold goes off the charts. That means super high. But silver becomes a new item of economic security that opens a door of luxury to those who have attained this precious metal. That's a prophetic word about silver.
Mm-hmm.
That's from God about silver.
And also for the tarot readers in the last year, they've all been getting the same thing when people are asking them who are calling or getting the readings. They're asking, okay, how's my financial system, financial reality going to be here in the future or the immediate future? And all of them who got that big, what was that card? Abundance card and that big a fortune card pulled up for them, they all had the same common denominator, meaning that these people that were asking the question, they already own silver and crypto. So again, the psychics were picking up on that unbeknownst to them until they got to the common denominator, like, oh, okay, so clearly something is going to be happening here at that level. And also this points into the new electrics, the new economy, the new era we're talking about here.
Right. So these are prophetic things written by prophets. Okay. So what's coming in the new era is new technologies, free energy, medical breakthroughs, and they're going to basically start out of what I will hear would be out of Israel. And cures, a new government, new political party, new educational system. So all of these things are prophetic things given by prophets, but also, they've been picked up by, some of the linguistic stuff that's been picked up too, right? But these, what is linguistics picking up? It's picking up the words of psychics and prophets. You see what I'm saying? But there is one thing that's actually very interesting that was stated by Lois Vogel Sharp. It says the AI technology that they're trying to do and will be stopped before it ever inhabits mankind. So they will not be able to do, the Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, that's not, they're not, so they will never be able to, they'll be stopped before that ever happens. So that's a prophetic thing. That will not be allowed.
Let me ask you on that one. Have you heard, and it ties into maybe the AI being removed, but also a more organic communication and abilities for human using silver? Because apparently there's another type of silver that if used properly in technology, we as humans can interface with by our consciousness, as opposed to having these wires or these implants put in or all of this AI. So I'm curious to see what that future holds in store for us. But that too is coming up in some of these linguistics. And it actually came out, I think it was earlier this year in Popular Mechanics or one of those other magazines, that they've discovered this other type of silver that has this, don't quote me on this, I'm not a geological engineer, but some type of third isotope or some type of, it's kind of like it's in two dimensions at the same time. I forget how it's called, but anyways, it's really fascinating stuff. And it was picked up a few years ago in the predictive stuff. So very, very fascinating times indeed. And in terms of the secrets revealed in this interview coming up with Cliff on Saturday, he's talking about, of course, that we are going to have these secrets reveals in terms of this technology here to offset some of the falling down and the chaos that we're going to have here. And that's about to start very, very shortly. So guys, do go and check that out on Saturday. Okay, Bo, back to you.
Yeah, I don't know about the different silver technologies. No, none of that is my information, but I can just tell you that these are like two worlds collide. And it all goes down to, when glory shows up, it's just going to be that moment in time. And then everything from that moment on changes. Like when the glory shows up, you can't go back to undo what happened. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when those events or whatever that time point shows up, the world can never go backwards.
It's like it's like the Gutenberg press. You can't put the cat back in the bag. After it's out, it's out. So when these technologies are out, like you say, we can't go back.
Yeah,
It's
and when the truth, technologies, all of it is, it just, the truth will set you free. Directly quote from the Bible, right? And so you can't, like you said in the early part of this presentation, you can different things you can define two different ways sometimes, but the truth is the truth. It's just the truth. That's it. There's only one truth.
It transcends everything, even time. Exactly.
So there's other slides in the presentation, but that basically is the nutshell of what I wanted to talk about, how important August is, and then how it leads into September, and then how we're heading into November. And that takes us all the way back, to page 1, which is the summary of everything. It's the seasons. So, Day of Vengeance is the glory. So vengeance is mine, but says the Lord, but it's vengeance, so which side of the coin are you on that equation? Right? Is it vengeance or the glory? Right. And then they fall and fall. And then we got winter, and then I will make you happy. So it's a matter of timing, but all of it transcends the fact that we're supposed to see all of this still this year before year end, based specifically also tying it in with the Kim Clement prophecy of 2014. Right. Rather fascinating how we described who you will know who my David is.
Right. And I can't wait for the show on Saturday and see what he comes up with and how it ties into all of that. And folks, stay tuned here. In about 30 minutes, I'm going live with Andy Scheckman. He's got 2 more specials for the Beyond Mystic audience here starting today. I thought I'd put it into this episode as well to give you guys access to this. Of course, it's the 1-ounce silver kangaroos and the Britannias that are on sale now. So if you guys are looking to put your hands on some physical silver to empower yourself and be on that right side of the equation here, as Bo is saying, please do go check that out at beyondmystic.net/silver. The link is on the screen now, and it's also in the description box below if you guys are watching this on the replay. So, Bo, let's get into some of your offers here for the people who want to go a little bit further than that and who might be willing and interested in investing into cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, and be part of some of your trade call analysis. Where can they go, and what specials do you have here for the Beyond Mystic audience?
Well, I don't give trade calls because that's an investment advice. What I can give people is timing. What I've done, more importantly, is this whole presentation is a look into the future. Like, look at there's 3 cycles of 7 taking us all the way into the year 2030. I show you who the people in charge are. It's the details within this presentation. Yeah, I can make a book and do it, but I don't need to when I can just do an interview and just pass out these slides to people for free and try to wake up the world as to where and what's happening within our world. So it's my pleasure to do this for you and your viewers and for anybody who chooses to listen. Yes, I do more detailed analysis, which I personally have used myself, and I provide it to people, so you can see how I look at time and how I perceive time more on a daily basis, not on a global perspective or on a yearly look, but more on a day-by-day basis. So the chart that was on page 25 basically showed the next few days of how into next week we're supposed to be popping vertical in the cryptocurrencies. So, but if you want to see those precise charts, a look into September, a look into October, November, just all of that's provided. And I even on 12 coins. For those that are interested, have given price projections into year end for Bitcoin, Theta, all these really great coins. The price projections are in there, and that's covered within the Bitcoin index. If you want to use it, you type in Jean-Claude's code MYSTIC49, and you'll get it rather than $99. You get it for $49. You get it for 2 weeks. You get to see everything. If you like it, stay. If you don't like it, you cancel anytime, but that's why I do this, so it's simple. So if the information works for you, stick with it. If you just want to have a look, that's fine too. But my point is just I want to offer, if people are looking to more on the precise daily price movements, we offer that.
Okay. If you know what about the people who are just getting into crypto now?
Right. And so those that know nothing about crypto, you don't need the Bitcoin index, right? First, you know, like, well, how the heck do I start? So I help my son create what's called Easy Crypto School. I've kind of given, I wrote out a roadmap for him. He created all the videos and the words for it, and very detailed from step A, from buying it, moving coins around, and then ultimately storing them safely. It's all there. It's my kind of big picture on how to do it all. My son put all the work into it. And so Easy Crypto School, type that in, and then it's Mystic 39. And so you get it off at half price. And again, that's a whole month of how to do it. You basically, it's all you need. So for $39, you can learn how to get started and get your cryptos and store them, and from step A to Z with regards to getting involved with cryptocurrencies. And then gold and silver, you put out the link there, Andy Shepman, great guy and, great product. Okay. So you just pick up some silver if you think of if your discernment says that what Jean-Claude and I say makes sense, then you might want to give Miles Franklin a call, because you're discerning things that Jean-Claude and I are also discerning, and maybe we're all on the same page. So that's what I can tell you. But, we are at I think a two worlds collide moment, and I don't know how this goes down. But I would make sure that you've got some extra food, extra water on top of that too. Doesn't hurt to have a couple of weeks of stuff at the home, just in case. Who knows? And if nothing happens, use the water, use the food. But there's no downside to preparing, because I don't know how many times it says in the Bible, prepare. That I didn't check, but I do know that it's many, many times. Right. So, with that said, Jean-Claude, if there's questions, you may have, or your viewers, let me know. But I blessings to you, your family. I've seen, your son, I think it was your son on YouTube or something. Was that your son on the back drop one time?
No, I have 3 daughters.
Oh, your daughter. Okay. Yeah. So maybe it's a boy walking by, but anyways, I wish you and your family all the best. And
thank you so much.
God bless you and your viewers. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Renee says, yes, I've bought from Miles Franklin. I highly recommend. Yes, they're absolutely great. And our audience absolutely loves them. And Andy gives us the best possible prices at every step of the way. And of course, he'll be on in about 30 minutes here as I switch over the slide deck for that next episode. So thank you so much, Bo. I want to encourage the audience here to go and subscribe to Gold 2020 Forecast here on YouTube. The links are in the description box below, as well as the links to his website, where you can find those coupon codes for the subscription services that he offers. And last but not least, this was the time-space continuum, where woo-woo meets the Bible. And sometimes it's a lot closer than it seems. So I'll leave you on that note, folks. Be prepared and fear not. Thank you so much, Bo. Have a great day, sir. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you. That's beautiful, Jean-Claude. Fear not. What a beautiful place to end. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys. Au revoir.